For years, even decades, I've heard people say that the North Side isn't safe. People that have devalued an entire quartile of the city by focusing on crime rates that were higher than the rest of Minneapolis. I wanted to make sure that we are coming here right now to correct the record. We're not going to devalue the North Side. We're not going to look at it from a deficit standpoint. We're going to recognize the amazing people, the extraordinary community members that have made the North Side a place of excellence. And part of getting to that excellence is having a foundation of safety. Pure and simple, crime is down on the North Side, and specifically violent crime is down on the North Side by more than any time in about a decade, since 2014. This is due to a lot of intense and collaborative work with our police, with community members, with our different jurisdictional partners that have all really stepped up to make sure that this is a place where people have that foundation of safety. And the chief can attest, we hear about it. We hear about it when you go over on the North Side. We hear about it from small and local business owners. We hear about it when you walk on West Broad or on Lowry. It feels different. And part of the reason that we wanted to do this today is just to correct an overarching narrative that the North Side isn't safe. The North Side is a place of excellence. The North Side has a foundation of safety. And that doesn't mean that we're there yet. That doesn't mean that we're washing our hands clean of the issue and we're going to stop working on it. It means that we're making some substantial progress. And when you have a dramatic shift that has impacted people for generations, when you have such a substantial decline in violent crime, when you have people that aren't on a daily basis subjected to gunfire on their block or in their neighborhood, that helps people on the North Side open jobs. That helps them open businesses. That makes sure that the students that are in the schools on the North Side are able not to focus on the gunfire, but are able to focus on math and reading, which is the bottom line of what we want them focusing on. And so, we're talking about down nearly 21% for these are shooting victims, shooting incidents down 25%. That was in 2024. Those numbers and that trajectory has continued in 2025. I want to thank Chief O'Hara. I want to thank all the partners that we've worked with throughout the community that have helped to make this happen. And of course, I want to thank our other jurisdictional partners as well. If I name any of them, I'm going to leave somebody out. But the bottom line is we wanted to kind of change the narrative. We all need to be talking about the North Side differently. Chief.
No, thank you so much, Mayor. When the mayor first brought me here, I got a tour of the city. And I think the first location that I went to was Broadway and Lyndale. And I recognized the corner when the officer told me because I had read in the news that I think 3 or 4 people had been shot there the day before. And I mean, the corner was just chaos even the next day while I was there. And I soon learned some of the stats up on the North Side there at the murder station. 9 shootings, 9 people shot there in 2019, 32 people shot there in 2020, 38 people shot there in 2021, and 30 in 2022, that year that I got here. Last year, there was 1 person shot there all year. And I know that's just one location, but that is a place that had been targeted, not just by all of law enforcement, but by members of the community who stood up and said, we're not going to take this anymore, and took back that location. And there's plenty of other stories like that, and we have stats that we could talk here for the rest of the afternoon about. But the reality is this isn't something that changed last week or last month. This is something that I've been hearing consistently from the residents for over a year now. Residents have been telling me, it's gotten quieter here. I used to hear gunshots every night at my house. I haven't heard a shooting in weeks up here. The police officers have noticed it. I was at a roll call yesterday morning on the North Side for one of our details with sheriff's deputies there, BCA, other agencies. And typically, I've been to dozens of these. Typically, they go through a laundry list of cars on the hot sheet There wasn't one yesterday morning at that roll call. Literally, I'd never seen that before. And so I know this is a direct result of the pride that exists on the north side that the residents have, stepping up, stepping in, and supporting the police officers that are there. But I have to say, this is progress, and this progress is due to the hard work of the police officers that have been putting in and sticking with this city over the last few years. The long days, just like yesterday, early in the morning till late at night, doing warrants on the north side, arresting individuals wanted for shootings, for murders, getting over a dozen guns off the street yesterday with that detail. So I'm incredibly proud of the work that the police officers that have been doing this work. I'm thankful for the residents of the north side, for the community that's been stepping in and letting people know they're not going to take it anymore. We talk about trust and legitimacy all the time because that's something that we're focused on every single day. But last night while I was on the street on the north side, I saw the results of why that's so possible. So people were fleeing the police and hiding, felons armed with guns. People from the community were telling us where they stashed the gun, where they were hiding. We've developed relationships with a lot of the kids that have been getting into trouble over the last year up on the north side, where now parents are calling us directly, calling our investigators, letting us know he's with the older kids down the street again. I think they're hiding a stolen car in the alley. I think they have a gun hidden over here. And that's the definition of community policing. And it's just because of the hard work of everyone, of the cops and of the community, that we're seeing these real results.
That's right. We held off for a while on having this press conference. Obviously, the numbers were trending pretty positive throughout 2024. Maybe it was a little bit superstition. Maybe it was a little bit, look, yes, at any time something bad could happen. And at the same time, this data is real and people feel it. There are instances when perception matches reality. And certainly that would have been the case in 2021 and 2022. There are instances when perception does not match the reality. Yeah. The reality right now is that crime is substantially down. Violent crime on the north side is dramatically down. And we need to talk about the north side in a different way, recognizing the truth.
Now you say violent crime is down in North Minneapolis. Does that include shots spotted and shots fired calls as well?
Yes.
So this year, we know through ShotSpotter exactly how many gunshots have been detected on the north side, and there's still far too much reckless discharges of firearms that have been detected. And so that is something so far year to date that is still obviously far too high. But in terms of people being hit by bullets, of people being murdered, that is down very dramatically citywide.
So there's still guns on the streets, though.
Still, we got 13 off the street yesterday. Most of which, if not all, I think most of which was on the north side. And again, that's because of the sheriff's office, the BCA, the Minneapolis police, all doing long-term investigations on people that have been causing a lot of this havoc. And it's an extension of the work that law enforcement's been doing. As we're talking about getting guns off the street still now, the fight's going on in the federal courthouse across the street because there's dozens of criminal street gang members that have been arrested, taken down, felons armed with weapons, people want to shootings, murders, that type of thing. On both sides of that Broadway and Lyndale intersection, the highs north of Broadway, the lows on the other side. And that has also had a big part in terms of what we've seen. But yeah, we're still dealing with just an outrageous amount of crime.
Do you know what number that is for the shot spotted calls? You have an
estimate? Can get that.
I was wondering too. I know definitely shot spotter activations are down. Certainly gunshot wound victims are down for the 4th precinct. But I was just looking at the numbers. Homicides are up year over year from 2023 to 2024, from I think 29 to 36, if my numbers are correct. If there are fewer gunshots, fewer gunshot wound victims, why are you seeing this uptick in the number of homicides in that part of town?
There's a number of things, obviously, that go into murder. And murder is obviously one of the most difficult crimes to prevent. Obviously, the majority of homicides are the result of shootings, but not all of them. And so there's a number of factors that play into it. So far this year, citywide, there's been 6 victims of homicide, which is down from 13 at this point last year. So I believe that the strategies law enforcement are doing, and I believe that us constantly readjusting to the problem is what we need to continue to do. But I think it's very, very clear from what the residents say that this is on the right track.
And it's not just 2024 that we're looking at. It's also these first 3 months of 2025. And for those months, across the city, in virtually every single category, crime has been down, and in some areas of the city, substantially down. And we can get into that as well. Obviously, we're talking predominantly about the north side here now, but I mean, on the south side, in these first few months, violent crime, 911 calls for response and service have been drastically down as well.
Are you able to draw a straight line to this drop in gunshot wound victims and shootings to that from this massive federal prosecution of alleged gang members?
There's no question, and I think the community by and large would tell you that certainly, at least when that first major announcement was made, that takedown, we know through jail calls that people who are involved in bad activity, this is what they were talking about. Right. We know that people on the street that first summer, that's when we started to hear that noticeable difference. So yeah, that the RICO takedowns, the gang takedowns are a huge part of it, but not all of it. I mean, there's still all sorts of other prosecutions federally that were done, fentanyl switches, those kinds of things. And there's other stuff, again, that the community that did to step into those spaces and kind of reclaim a lot of those public spaces and really make law enforcement able to do their job, telling us what's going on.
Yeah, and we had a number of police officers that were embedded with the U.S. Attorney's Office doing this work, which was and is critically important. I also hear a lot from moms on the north side, and quite simply, they're not putting up with it. It's the mentality that, hey, you're not going to do that on our block. You're not going to make our neighborhood more dangerous. And they're willing not just to say it out loud, but they're willing to work with the inspector and work with our chief, in some cases calling and texting us very directly. And when you have that kind of partnership that, hasn't always been there in full, it helps.
Chief, can you point to any specific strategies that worked best in bringing crime down in the north side?
I mean, there's a lot. I would say just from the beginning, probably one of the most important things, and it's not just the north side, I would say in general with the department, is restoring a sense of urgency in what we're doing. I think, and I learned this first on the north side because it's the first murder that I went to on Lyndale Avenue near the McDonald's after I'd just become the police chief. I heard it from people at the community, at the scene. People had felt like too much violence had been normalized. People had felt like the police department had kind of fallen back, in their words, because people were mad that George Floyd was murdered. And I saw it myself here. So I think that the overarching idea is restoring a sense of urgency, trying to help our people heal. You have people here in the city, not just residents, but police officers also that were very, very traumatized from everything that they lived through here. And I think in some ways we are healthier. I think the community is starting to heal. The community is healthier, and they are better able to help us, and we are better able to connect. I can tell you one thing without question from the first day I got here is I had not experienced so much love and support for police officers as I did literally from my first day here on the north side. I compare it to, I was a police officer in New Jersey on September 11th, 2001. It was like that, being a cop on September 12th. That's how much people that are dealing with the brunt of crime and violence, that's how loving they are, that's how welcoming they are, that's how supportive they are. They just simply want good police.
And Chief, you had kind of mentioned when you first got here, the number of gunshot victims in the intersection was up. How did you, take the community policing in place? How did you get the public's trust for them to call you? And how do you have your officers protect and serve that area if it's known to have issues?
I mean, the truth is, frankly, the community was done with this. The community was tired of having 30 people shot at this one location over and over and over again. The community was already willing to step up, and they were doing it on their own. And the rest of law enforcement was able to come together. And I think a lot of work had been going on already investigatively that we were then able to benefit off of. And community was calling community meetings and stuff to talk about this up there. The Attorney General had gotten involved, threatening to have civil action against some of the property owners up there that weren't responsibly operating their businesses. So I really think it's probably every partner you could think of that just had enough about this, the most violent, intersection in the city.
Do you think you made a difference being at the helm?
I'll answer that. Yes. The chief has done an incredible job. And he mentioned this sense of urgency. There is a hop in the step of a number of these police officers that, to that point, we hadn't seen in quite some time. They were tired. And to give them both the confidence, but also the leadership to say, hey, you know what, you can make a massive difference in the lives of the people that you're charged with protecting and serving, to implement the kind of urgency that we're talking about, to have that responsive task force that has been really successful, to implement the curfew task force that we've got as well. There are a number of real specific programs where officers feel empowered to do good work with the community, hand in hand, facing some of the most difficult issues that the world could offer. They're working together. And, it doesn't happen overnight, of course. It takes a while for that kind of change to take hold, but it's there. It's happening now.
Chief, as you've said, there's been a unique relationship with residents in the 4th Precinct. There have been a number of inspectors in that area who were beloved by community members who were sons of the city, including our current inspector, Charlie Adams. Can you speak at all to his leadership in the last few years there?
Yeah, Charlie's amazing. I love Charlie. He is one of a kind. He is a North Sider through and through. He is a senior veteran police officer that is well respected in the department, from the youngest cops all the way up to me. And he is well respected by everyone in the community. He is the type of person that it doesn't matter what's going on at a scene. He can show up at a scene on the north side, and someone with some authority in the community, someone respected in the community, will know him. And if somebody gives him a problem, he doesn't need the cops to come straighten it out, because the community will straighten it out for him. Charlie, his whole family, his daughter's a police officer here. One of his sons works for us still, was an officer, works for us now as a civilian investigator. And he absolutely loves the North Side. And he will tell you that his officers, Minneapolis officers on the North Side, spend most of their professional lives there, and they love the community as much as he does.
A judge today granted another stay with the federal consent decree. The request for the DOJ, thoughts on that moving forward? Kind of a continued delay with that effort.
Yeah. So I haven't been fully briefed on the repercussions of what exactly that means. We obviously did oppose the stay for the 30-day extension. And I mean, the message is the same as it has been, which is regardless of what happens in terms of the judicial enforcement of the consent decree, we are doing it anyway. All those pieces that were in the consent decree that the community has seen, that have been transparently put out there, we're going to do it. The city is expecting us to do it. Residents, neighbors, they're expecting us to make this necessary change, and we're going to make it happen.
2 more questions.
Well, some of that effort that's already underway, of course, with the state agreement, and I know Chief O'Hara, you were brought in to really make some of that change happen. Can you, connect it directly to the impact on the north side?
Well, let's start with, we are seeing a dramatic increase in the number of police officers that are applying to the Minneapolis Police Department right now. There's a 133% increase in the applications that are coming in. We're expecting a significant year as a net positive in the number of police officers that are coming in. For years, I've heard people talk about wanting to see recruits come in that were more reflective of the community at large. In other words, more diverse, committed and/or living in the city, committed to and/or living in the city. It's happening. And these officers want to get in on the ground level of the change that they see taking place in the way of reform, in the way of culture shift. I hear it from them. Why are you joining this police department right now? They've said it to us, they've said it publicly. It's because they want to be part of the change. They want to be part of something special that's happening. And so, yes, I feel that there's a number of people that maybe would not have previously applied to be a Minneapolis police officer, and they're doing it now. And so this is the kind of change that I think people have been demanding for years, rightfully so, and it's happening.
Mayor, about a week and a half ago, there was a shootout on the north side involving violence interrupters, 21 days apiece. And the city pulled back a contract for 21 days apiece Monday. And there was an incident at city council, and then, of course, the shootout.
Right.
You haven't commented on that. I just want to know
Yeah.
if you can comment on McAfee's actions at the council and then the shootout. The chief wants to say anything.
Yeah. Here's what I can say. We are reviewing it right now. The contract itself and the events that you mentioned are under review. I can't say any more than that at the moment.
What about McAfee's, what he said to the council?
I can't say any more about so what I will say is that there was a substantial process that, as you know, took place that the mayor's office, no elected official was involved with. And this was done by largely an outside people that reviewed the applications in a blind format. In other words, they didn't know who the recipients of the dollars would ultimately be. They didn't know whose application they were reviewing. That was conducted before any of this. I can't comment on everything else. All I can say is that it's under review.
But do you have any comment on McAfee?
I can't comment on any of this. I can't comment on what I can say is it's under review.
Thanks,
everyone.
I
Appreciate
know
it.
your officers work really close with them. Is it going to impact not working with 21 days apiece?
Well, let me say this first off. I think it's unfortunate when things like this happen because there are people waiting to discredit the very notion of this work being useful in the first place. So let me be clear. I believe in community-based violence prevention. I believe in people from the community being effective at helping resolve conflicts. We rely on Reverend McAfee as well as other community-based organizations that are willing to answer the phone for us, especially at a time when we are so depleted, they're willing to go to places where we are experiencing problems. And frankly, they have a level of authority and respect in community, a lot of times because they are people from the street. So that is something that is valuable. Reverend McAfee has been a valuable partner to the police department, and their work is valuable. So I think we need to say that. Separately, there is a criminal investigation, and obviously we are going to pursue that investigation wherever it legally goes. But that does not mean that Reverend McAfee, that his organization, that this concept in general is not something that's useful.
Both of those
That's not
things can be true at the same time, and they are.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.